All right, so check this out. More clips of Maga host Charlie Kirk debating students in Cambridge, England have gone viral, and every single one of these clips proves that people like Charlie Kirk can't actually debate educated people because every time they try to, it goes really poorly. They fail, they stumble, they embarrass themselves, and that's no different with the clips I'm about to show you. So this young Cambridge student completely schooled Charlie Kirk on America's financial system and Donald Trump's own policy, of which Kirk swears by, apparently he loves. So let's just dive right into these clips. But before we do so, make sure to subscribe to the channel, comment some blue hearts, some American flags, drop a like on the video as well. But let's dive right in. Here's a shorter clip before we look at a longer one. Have a look.
Well, his suggested budget cuts $1.5 trillion. I wish it should be even more.
That is not true.
No, it is. It's okay. You could look it up.
$1.5 trillion would be the equivalent of cutting the entire American military budget and a half.
He's advocating for raising taxes on the ultra-wealthy. We'll see if that materializes.
That is an income tax. The ultra-wealthy generally do not take a large portion of their income from an income tax and take it instead from capital gains.
Well,
fundamentally, increasing an 8% tax on Elon Musk, who takes like $10,000 as a salary or something stupid, will not make any material difference. This is a straw man argument, and it is obfuscating from the fundamental issue. This is a government for and run by oligarchs.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie Kirk got schooled there, no doubt. I mean, it's obvious that he's being very disingenuous. He's saying that, whoa, hold on now. Trump's budget has a major increase in income taxes, but the reality is people like Elon Musk don't take an income. That's not how they generate their wealth. That's not how they take their wealth. Elon Musk is not a multi-billionaire, the richest man in the world, because he takes an income every year. It's wrapped up in stocks, and they take it in capital gains and things like that. And of course, Donald Trump's new budget doesn't go near those, doesn't touch them. Why? Because the wealthy people support Donald Trump. So Charlie Kirk can get up there and say, oh, well, this budget does this for the income tax. That does nothing. It completely does nothing. It doesn't change anything in the United States. But of course, Kirk is going to run with that point and be disingenuous. And by the way, when Charlie Kirk is talking about the cuts, the $1 trillion of cuts that apparently are in Donald Trump's budget, that has nothing to do with wealthy people. That has nothing to do with uplifting middle-class Americans. That has everything to do with cutting the programs that middle-class Americans rely on. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and things of that nature. Billions in dollars of cuts to these programs. Basically kicking all of these hungry and people who need food off of the programs that they rely on. It's just so disingenuous, and it's so frustrating to see Charlie Kirk still run with these arguments all the time. So let's just dive right into the next longer clip, which shows a really good back and forth between this student and Charlie Kirk. And just wait for the last line, which I really appreciate from this young man toward Kirk. Have a look.
85%.
That is fundamentally not true.
Okay,
the richest,
Can I finish?
the most
Okay, again, 9 out of 10 of the wealthiest counties in America vote Democrat. If you earn more than $300,000 US a year, you vote Democrat at a 75% clip. I mean, it is so overwhelmingly the Democrat Party is the party of the rich. Secondly, though, he's going out of his way to cut taxes for working people. No tax on tips, no tax on overtimes, the extension of the middle class tax relief. Again, I don't know how interesting this is for a UK audience, but more broadly, President Trump is doing the impossible, something I hope your government does. He is trying to cut taxes for middle class people while also trying to balance the budget. I wish he would cut taxes even more. It's an ambitious project, and I support him completely in that endeavor.
The extent to which he's attempting to balance the budget is not necessarily true, given that the budget is currently at a higher deficit this current year, as it was at any point under Biden, or I think any other president in history. I would also point to the fact that suggesting that wealthy people overwhelmingly vote Democrats is true to a point. After a certain income, they overwhelmingly vote Republican because the tax breaks, kind of business interests and all this that Republicans offer them.
Yeah, I just want to quickly pause right there and say that in and of itself is such an amazing rebuttal of Charlie Kirk, because it is true that some people in upper brackets of income vote for Democrats, but it's only until a point. Once you get to a certain amount of wealth, it is overwhelmingly voting for Republican. And he's right. It's because the Republicans offer them tax cuts and business benefits that Democrats say, hey, you're a multi-billionaire, you don't need more tax cuts. The Republicans say, well, actually, you do. And this is yet another example of Charlie Kirk just being so disingenuous. He knows this. He knows that after a certain point, it's so overwhelmingly Republican. He'll ignore that data, focus on others, and try to make a broader point. It's the typical Charlie Kirk and MAGA debate tactic, and he got called out to his face right there for being disingenuous. Let's continue.
Given he is attempting, in your own words, to balance the budget, Again, coming back to the root issue, why is he defunding the IRS, which brings in money? Why is he defunding national parks, which makes money? Why is he engaging in all of this if he is trying to balance the budget?
First of all, some of them...
Can I just finish my statement? Is it perhaps because when you defund the IRS, the wealthiest people, the people that fund his super PACs, the people that buy his Trump coin, people that are in fact in his cabinet, generally pay a lower de facto rate of tax because the IRS can no longer fund to actually investigate and audit them?
Okay, so by defunding, again, the IRS is our tax collection agency. If you guys don't know, it's the Internal Revenue Service. I don't know what it's called here in the UK.
HMRC.
Yeah, sure. So the
favorite.
The equivalent is, number two, that you're not totally wrong about one portion of this, which is that more agents do equal more revenue. You have to have a tension, though, of do you want to grow the IRS by 87,000 extra agents, which Joe Biden did? He's trying to peel that back. Do you believe in or do you know the Laffer curve? Are you familiar with it? It's this,
I can't say.
It's a belief that when you lower taxes, you can actually increase revenues because compliance goes up and economic growth goes up. We saw this in the United States during Ronald Reagan, during a massive tax cut. It's called the Laffer curve. And so that's actually debated. Just because you cut taxes, you're going to run a deficit. But you're not totally incorrect. You are correct. And I will admit this point, that when you have less IRS agents, you are going to have less revenue. And I think that it's a good thing generally to have less IRS agents looking into the particulars of Americans. And we have a history over the last 10 years right now.
Actually, the richest Americans.
Well, not necessarily. That's the thing, is that the richest Americans actually are able to hire the tax attorneys and the accountants to get through IRS issues and get to settlement. What we see in the data is it actually ends up with middle-class Americans because they do not have the same infrastructure to deal with a very intense IRS agent.
All right, I'm going to say one last thing if they're taking too much of your time. I think it is interesting to suggest that Donald Trump is the only president that is going to raise taxes on the ultra wealthy. I've already pointed out the potential flaws, the potential flaws in that. I would also draw the audience's attention to the fact that Donald Trump is overwhelmingly backed by, supported by, funded by, and in fact stacked his cabinet, as I have mentioned, by billionaires. And you yourself in Turning Point USA relies relatively heavily on the ultra wealthy to give their donations.
Somewhat.
For example, Foster Friess, although sadly departed.
Yeah,
I know. But
we also have.
When you were founding, you were overtly reliant on this. So I would just like to point out that inconsistency, and I thank you for she's attempting
as I said, wait for that last point, because he just exposed Charlie Kirk pretty blatantly in front of not only the audience, but everybody at home watching this video right now, which is Charlie Kirk goes around saying, oh, Donald Trump is cutting taxes for the middle class. Everything he's doing on taxes is fantastic. Now, we know that not to be the case. We know that these tax cuts in this bill that he's trying to pass does not overwhelmingly benefit the middle class, but he pretends to care while simultaneously everybody donating to his organization, everybody making his career possible, everybody making it possible for his organization to even function are multi-billionaire Republican donors. There are people with many, many different zeros in their bank accounts who are just funneling all of this money to Charlie Kirk. And so Charlie Kirk, when he's going up there making these disingenuous points, he knows that this bill is going to benefit the wealthiest Americans and screw over the middle class Americans. He knows that. That's what his donors want him to do, spread positive PR about this bill that is actually going to screw over a lot of people because it helps them. And I really appreciated this young man making that point there. And of course, Charlie Kirk was being dishonest and disingenuous about his point surrounding the IRS agents, that it only tackles middle-class Americans. It doesn't focus on the wealthy. President Biden was trying to reverse that trend, hiring agents to not only replace retiring agents, but also just to make sure that the wealthy pay their fair share. But people like Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump, and the Republicans said, no can do. We don't want that, which is outrageous. So anyway, I just really appreciate watching MAGA commentators like Charlie Kirk getting called out to their faces. And I don't think that we'll see Charlie Kirk doing a debate style like this where he faces educated people anytime soon, because we've seen how it went. It didn't go great for Kirk. So I will leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. It goes an incredibly long way. Drop a like and comment. Let me know what you think about this debate in this video. And as I always say, I greatly appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.